Resentment tells you one of two things: that someone's treading on your territory and something needs to be done about it, or that you need to grow the hell up and stop complaining.
You know, like maybe you're resentful about something. Well, you probably are, because like everybody's resentful about something, you know. And resentment is just a vicious emotion. It's really useful. It's really useful because if you're resentful about something, it either means that you should grow the hell up and accept the responsibility and quit sniveling around and whining, or it means that someone actually is oppressing you and pushing on you too hard and bullying you and demeaning you, and you have something to say or do that you're not saying or doing. And no wonder you're not saying or doing it, because, you know, it can be really dangerous to say things or do them to free yourself from being oppressed. You can get in a lot of trouble in the short term for doing it, so it's easier just to not say anything, sort of day after day. In the short term you protect yourself, but it just crushes you. And then the resentment comes up, and resentment, man, that can just get so out of hand, you know. It starts with resentment, and then it goes to the desire for revenge, you know, because you'll play nasty little tricks on the person that's oppressing you. At any chance you'll talk about them behind their back, and if they want you to do something, you'll do it badly, or you'll do it grudgingly, or you'll do a half-rate job, and you'll set up little traps, and you know, so it puts you in a poisonous space. And then if you really start to dwell on that, say, in your basement for 3 or 4 years about just exactly how terrible the world is and how that's focused on you and how everyone's rejected you, and how you get to this point where you're thinking that, you know, existence itself is a kind of poisonous endeavor, and that the best thing for you to do is go out there and do as much, you know, create as much mayhem as you possibly can. And if you really get to a dark place, you think, I'm going to create as much mayhem as I possibly can by targeting the most innocent thing I can possibly imagine. And so that's a bad road, man. There's dark things down there, but you can go there, and people do, and they go through the hole of resentment. And so resentment can tell you you've got something to say. You bloody well better say it. You gotta free yourself from what's oppressing you. You have to stand up for that, because otherwise you become oppressed, and then once you're oppressed, that's just not so good. And so, like in your marriage and your relationships, you got to tell people what you're thinking. You don't have to assume you're right. That's a whole different story, because you're not, because you're, you know, ignorant and you're biased, and, you know, so you're not right, but you can stumble towards the expression of yourself, and then you can listen to the other person and hope that they tell you some way that you're stupid that's useful, so you can be a little less stupid in the future, because wouldn't that be good? And so, you know, you go after the unknown. You don't protect what you know. You already know what you know. You go after what you don't know. That's why you have to talk to people you don't agree with. That's why you have to talk to your enemies, because they're going to tell you things you don't know. You could even listen to them. It's possible they know a thing or two you don't know. But people don't like that, you know. They just talk to people who think the same way, and then they just stay stupid. And so that's not good, because if you're not wise, the world will wallop you. It'll flatten you, and far more than it has to. And then you'll be bitter and resentful, and you'll be part of that force that wallops instead of the force that fights against that.
Yeah, well, in my new book, I have a chapter, which is Rule 11. Do not allow yourself to become resentful, deceitful, or arrogant. It's kind of the evil triad, as far as I've been able to determine. Resentment in particular. It's bad. It's a bad emotion. It's useful. You can learn a lot by noticing that it occurs. Resentment tells you one of two things. One is that that someone's treading on your territory and something needs to be done about it, or that you need to grow the hell up and stop complaining. And it's hard. It isn't necessarily obvious when you feel resentful which of those it is, but you need to figure it out, you know, because you can harbor resentment for unlived life for a very, very long period of time, and all it does is corrupt you. It hurts you. It hurts you physically, because it's a stressful emotion. Anger is a stressful emotion, because your body hyper prepares for action if you're angry, because you might get into conflict. So and that's a dangerous situation, and so you burn off a lot of psychophysiological resources in anger. If you're resentful, there's probably something you need to say. There's certainly something you need to figure out. And so you can use it as a guide to further development. It's very much useful to aim at a resentment-free existence. And that means, I suppose, that you're taking up enough space. You know, there's always a struggle between your domain and the domain of other people. Everyone competes for everyone else's attention. Everyone competes for everyone else's time. You compete for your own time. And if you're resentful, it's highly probable that, well, as I said, either you're not standing up for yourself sufficiently, or someone is legitimately on your case, in which case you need to do something about that. Or, live with the consequences, which is very unpleasant. It's not optimal. Sometimes I suppose it's unavoidable. But, generally there's something that can be done about it. Maybe you need a new job. It's easy for people to think that they're better than they are. And it's not surprising that everybody wants to think that. I probably want to think that about me. So then you'll get angry about something. Maybe your partner puts you down in public, doesn't show you the respect. Maybe you're married, say, and husband and wife owe each other a certain amount of categorical respect, sort of independent of the individual personalities. If you have decided that you're going to devote your life to someone and vice versa, they're now in a category that requires a certain amount of respect to maintain the relationship over time. It's good for your partner, and it's also good for you. Maybe you've taken a shot in public and you're really angry about it, but you don't notice it because you want to think that you're better than you are. That sort of thing doesn't upset you. And so you don't say anything about it. You don't do anything about it. And then you don't fix it. And that's a mistake. It's much better. You could say to your partner, look, we were out for dinner tonight, and you said something snarky, which I didn't think was appropriate. Now, I might be hypersensitive and touchy and immature, and maybe you hit me in a weak spot, or maybe you're playing some power game. Why don't we figure that out? Some things, if you don't address them, they just get worse. You have to have those fights to put things in order, and if you don't, then you end up with a worse fight in the future. And so the reason that I call things out is because I don't want more conflict. I'd rather have genuine peace, which is very, very, very hard to obtain. People generally obtain peace by sweeping things under the carpet. I have another chapter in this new book called Don't Hide Things in the Fog. And that's what it concentrates on, is pay attention to your negative emotions. Resentment particularly, it's so informative. You find out where you're immature. Well, do you want to? Probably not. Who wants to find out that? Or you'll find out who's oppressing you. And maybe then you can learn to stand up for yourself.
The problem with being agreeable is that people take advantage of you. And then you get resentful. So I'm sure there's a whole pile of you in here that are agreeable and resentful. I'm sure you know who you are. And one of the things I would mention, and you should think about this because it'll help you a lot if you do it, is that resentment is your best friend. If something makes you resentful, do not do it. Or there's a more sophisticated rule, which is, if something makes you resentful, there's only two possibilities. One is that you're sniveling and immature and you won't adopt your responsibilities and you're whining about it. The other is that you're being pushed around and people are attempting to enslave you. So, you want to eliminate the first possibility, right? You got to think, well, am I just being immature and whining about this? Is it something that people are reasonably demanding of me? And if you think that through, and maybe you talk to some people about it, and you think, no, this isn't reasonable, then the resentment is telling you, act. Because otherwise, that's what you'll be. You'll end up 15 years, especially if you're married or something like that, with 8,000 things you're resentful about, and then, you'll be in some kind of painful divorce that lasts for 10 years. So better to nip it in the bud. If someone is after you to do something, and you don't feel like you're getting proper regard or proper response, or you don't think it's fair, it's like, have some courage and get a hold of your anger and use it. Doesn't mean you're right, but at least it means you can push the person hard enough so they have to engage in a dialogue with you. And you know, these are necessary skills. Like, if you cannot do this, you have to be able to say no to negotiate. You have to be able to say no. So you always want to put yourself in a position where you can do that. That's part of power. And the other thing is, do not let people push you around, because you'll get pushed right into a corner and you'll end up as a slave. And that's because there's tyranny, slavery, or negotiation. That's what you've got.